Let's go to Mountain West, though, a team that a lot of people thought was going to win the conference championship going into the year. Boise State beating UNLV, number 10 Boise State winning 21-3. Let's go over the highest grade player, starting off with the Broncos. Their highest grade player was Jeremiah Irby with a 79.4 grade. Ashton Jeanty, of course, was also spectacular, 77.7. Mason Randolph, 72.9. Marco Notarini, 69.8, the linebacker. Sayi Oladipo with a 69.6 grade, and Maddux Madsen with a 64.9 grade. Let's go over to UNLV with their highest grade players in this loss, starting off with their running back, Greg Burrell, 83.5. Marshall McDuffie, linebacker, 79.1. Jackson Woodard, 74.8. Fisher K-Mac, 72.5. Jalen St. John, 68.5. And Hajj Malik Williams really struggled out there with a 44.4 grade. Dawn, for you, the stat that told the story.
That's that last guy you mentioned. It's Hajj Malik Williams. And UNLV really needed to balance this thing out in the passing game, and they just couldn't do it. Boise State was geared up to stop Jaden Thomas and Williams in the run game. That designed quarterback runs, which you mentioned were a focus coming into this game, weren't working, and when UNLV got behind and they needed Williams to save him with his arm, he just couldn't do it. A 39 passing grade. Well, that's not going to get it done really in any game. And it was a struggle out there in the cold against a Boise State defense that was ready to go 13-28, 110 yards, 4 turnover-worthy plays. And I think just as important, Williams took 6 sacks in this game. We charged 5 of them to him. Yeah. It just holding the ball too long, bailing on clean pockets.
He was getting happy feet in the pocket, it seemed
like. Boise blitzed him early, and then they started lining up guys, in that mug look and dropping them off. I mean, I thought Boise had Spencer Danielson came in with a terrific defensive game plan in this game. And the other thing, too, is, on top of the blitzing and the pressure, nothing downfield.
Yep.
Nothing. 2 for 15 Williams was on throws beyond 10 air yards. 2 for 15 with 4 turnover-worthy plays. Everything about Boise State's defense was stop the run on early downs and then just do everything we can to take away everything from Hajj Malik Williams in the passing game. That's how you end up with a 39 passing grade. That's how you end up only scoring 7 points. Their ability on defense to just completely befuddle Williams was a huge reason they won this game.
And you mentioned they blitzed early, and they dropped back after that. Dalton, my set the whole story. UNLV averaged 3 yards per pass when there was not a blitz. He was seeing ghosts out there.
That's every bit of it.
Me, and Ben were watching the game, and we were all saying, "Dude, look at how he's breaking clean pockets. He's almost he feels like a blitz is coming when there's no blitz."
Yep.
He felt it's like Sam Darnold, seeing ghosts out there. He felt it
in the second half, especially. It was completely
they were in his head.
Yeah,
they were in his head. Absolutely. Yeah, Boise State on 25 of 28 dropbacks did not blitz. I think they only blitzed 3 times in this game, and it worked beautifully. When Hajj Malik Williams, when there was not a blitz, 8 for 19, 58 yards, 1 pick, 34.2 passing grade, a 28 passer rating, 1 big-time throw, 3 turnover-worthy plays. And you mentioned it. They sacked him 6 times without even blitzing him at all because his pocket presence was a mess in that game. You mentioned 5 of the sacks were his fault. And then also something else, and that's not all Hajj Malik Williams' fault, because they dropped back so much. UNLV's receivers, on all the sacks I was looking at, they had nobody open. It wasn't like he missed wide open receivers. They had nobody open.
3 times in a row now that we've seen in the last 2 years that Boise did a spectacular job holding down Ricky White.
Oh, yeah.
Who I think is one of the best receivers in the country. I really do. I think he's a spectacular player. I think he's a guy that would be pretty high on my draft radar, especially probably early day 3, somewhere in there. 3 times in a row, they've held Ricky White down, and I think it made a big, big difference.
Absolutely, yeah. 58.1 receiving grade for UNLV as a team. And they have a good receiving core, and Boise State was like, hey, we're going to drop back 7-8 guys back there, and we'll see if Hajj Malik Williams can beat it. And he wasn't able to beat it, and that's why they were able to completely shut down that UNLV offense and only allowed 7 points in this game against the Rebels. But Dawn, for you, the most impressive part of this Boise State win.
Tell you what, something we haven't talked about yet this year. Boise State's got a pair of terrific corners.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Irby and Amarion McCoy in this game. Let me give you the combined 16 targets at these 2 guys. 3 catches allowed for 33 yards. Irby, a 79.7 coverage grade, led the team, had a terrific interception, I believe, on a go ball. He had a pass breakup. McCoy had a pass breakup. This pair of corners that they have, this is a problem for opponents. They're really good, and they're really disciplined in the secondary. They sat back in this game, like you mentioned, at 2 for 15 that the secondary allowed to Hajj Malik Williams, over 10 air yards. And I think The pass rush, they've gotten a lot of sacks this year. The coverage is underrated. This Boise State defense, I think, can cause you more problems. Actually, the other stat I just remembered I want to get into. Irby, into his coverage in this game, 0 passer rating. And McCoy, into his coverage, 39.6, which is the equivalent of just spiking the ball into the ground.
Yeah.
And obviously a 0 passer rating, well, that'll do the job too.
Yeah, that's about as good as you can do.
These two corners, Jeremiah Irby and Amarion McCoy, they keep playing like this, and you got a problem. And Maddux Madsen, I got to give him his credit, too, on the offensive side. Second half wasn't great, got a little loose with the football, but in the first half, he was fantastic. How about that touchdown he threw early in the game to the corner, in the back corner of the end zone? Beautiful. That's one of the best throws I've seen all season.
Yeah.
I mean, Maddux Madsen playing the way he did in the first half of this game, because I really like that Boise State did go to some of the throwing on first down early in this game, like I was asking him to in the preview. And then this secondary on defense, if they're starting to wreck, because there was some people even around Boise that was concerned about their pass defense. They play like this, they can also win a playoff game. I don't care if they're a group of 5 or not. So this is a dangerous team, and obviously the number one reason they can win a playoff game is...
Yeah, for one final time, we're going to shout out Ashton Jeanty before, of course, the Heisman ceremony comes out very soon. But he had one final game to state his case to Heisman voters, and he did that in this one. 209 rushing yards for Ashton Jeanty against UNLV. 187 came after contact. He only had 22 rushing yards before contact in this game. 187 after contact. Also, of course, a touchdown as well. It was like a 70-yard touchdown he scored. It was a ridiculous run that Ashton Jeanty scored right before halftime. And Dalton, we said it. It's like, dude, you never kneel. Going into halftime, never, ever kneel when you have Ashton Jeanty. Just give him the ball. And just be like, hey, whatever happens, happens. And what happened was he scored a 70-yard touchdown.
He broke the game.
So
he broke the game open.
They could have knelt it, and they could have said, hey, it's going to halftime. No.
At 14-0, UNLV feels like you have a shot.
Yeah.
At 21, after that, no.
Some people were like, oh, they're just going to kneel and go to... No, give it Ashton to see what happens.
Realistically, this game was over at halftime.
70-yard touchdown he scored right there. 11 tackles he broke on the ground as well. So let's go over season-long stats now. 1,882 yards after contact on the season. That's 527 more than Jonathan Taylor's record. Over 500 yards after contact more than the previous record held by Jonathan Taylor. He also, Dalton, 222 more yards than any other running back in the country's rushing yards this year. 134 broken tackles. 30 more than Bijan Robinson's record. Dalton, he is shattering records held by superstar running backs in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor's having a rough year this year, but overall, a great running back in the NFL. Bijan Robinson, superstar in the NFL. 2 amazing running backs in the NFL have set these records in PFF college history, and Jeanty shattered them. I mean, shattered them. Broke it by 500 yards for the yards after contact and 30 more broken tackles than Bijan Robinson, and still has one more game, at least one more game.
132 yards away, right?
I think 132 away from the Barry Sanders record. So the Jonathan Taylor record, shattered. Bijan Robinson record, shattered. Now maybe the GOAT of all running backs in Barry Sanders, he's 132 yards away going into a playoff game. We'll see. That's going to be like, I mentioned before, it's like the Adrian Peterson. Remember when Adrian Peterson's going for the single season record?
He was 9 yards short.
9 yards. And he needed like 180 going into it.
If he would have, I remember if he would have scored on that last carry, he would have broke it. Yeah.
I remember it was just like, it was like 60. It might have been 6 yards short. It was like close.
Something. Yeah, very, very close. Yeah. Enough that if it was like within the 10-yard line, and if he would have scored.
And nobody thought he could do it because going into it, he needed like 180, and he just kept breaking off runs. I wonder if it's like Ashton Jeanty, just like, hey, it's 130. I know you got to win a playoff game.
Now. They're trying to win a ball game.
They're trying to win a ball game.
And if they're going to win, he's going to get at least that much anyway.
And tied for 6th all-time in rushing touchdowns with 29 on the season. And he's still going, obviously, as well. Listen, I'm going to say right now, this is one of the all-time Heisman races. Truly. There's no wrong answer for the Heisman Trophy.
I would if I had a vote, I would lean Hunter, because I don't know that we'll ever see that again, and we've certainly never seen it before. But if Jeanty were to win it, cool. I'm not complaining.
And of course, producer Eli makes a lot of money if Jeanty wins it. So that's another thing too.
You're welcome.
He's taking us out to dinner. He said, if he does that. I don't think he said that, but we're doing it.
The one thing I just keep going back to when we talked to him last year, well before the season, and he said, I'm going to put up 2,500 total yards and 20 touchdowns this season. And we looked at him cross-eyed. We did.
We legit laughed at him.
We were like, "Wait, you're serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's yeah." And
he also ended saying, "I will be in New York for the Heisman ceremony." And we're like, "Hey, Boise State running back, yeah, good luck with that, pal."
And he's right now at over 2,600 total and 30 touchdowns.
30. He sold himself short. He legit sold himself short. Yeah.
I don't know where he'll get drafted, but in my head right now, I think he might be a top 5 talent in this draft.
And just to illustrate how ridiculous this Heisman race is, and there are a lot of people in the chat right now, Dalton, that are going to war over Hunter versus Jeanty right now. But looking at the previous Heisman winners, like Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Bryce Young, Devontae Smith, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, just like Derrick Henry, how many of those, like Hunter and Jeanty, would win in majority of those years?
Yeah,
either one of them.
A lot of them. Yeah, and in several of those years.
Like Joe Burrow is one that I'm like, okay, Burrow, maybe the greatest single-season quarterback year we've ever seen. But other than that, you can make an argument for any one of them. I think you can say Jeanty or Hunter would have won that year. That just shows you, hey, this is an all-time Heisman year. This is an all-time Heisman year. I hope people, I know you have your idea of, or you're thinking of who you think should win it, but at the same time, appreciate this, dude. This is an all-time year we're getting. And how cool is it, Dalton? How cool is it? This is an all-time Heisman race, and there's no quarterbacks. It's a wide receiver in a corner from Colorado, and it's a running back from Boise State, and it's still an all-time Heisman year.
And you will very likely get Dylan Gabriel third, I think. And there will be, of the 4 seats, if there's really going to be a movement for Scadaboo maybe to be sitting there fourth, only 1 quarterback out of the 4 spots. I kind of like mixing it up a little bit there. Was it 4 quarterbacks last year?
No, they threw Marvin Harrison Jr. in there for reasons. Okay. For lifetime achievement award, really.
Okay. When maybe it should have been Neighbors, but
yeah.
What are you gonna do? But last year you knew it would be a quarterback.
And Harrison was outstanding. To
have a non-quarterback argument at all, especially between multiple of them,
and
great stuff.
And the fact that it's still like. Usually when it's 2 non-quarterbacks, like, oh, it's kind of a bad year for Heisman. No, this is an all-time year, legitimately. So I just appreciate this race. We might get a 30 for 30. I think they did a 30 for 30 on the Heisman race between Charles Woodson and Peyton Manning. We might get a Jeanty versus Hunter 30 for 30 later on.
That's terrific.
Because it is awesome what's going on with the Heisman Trophy this year. But Boise State now wins the Mountain West Championship, clinches a playoff spot. And not only that, clinches a first-round bye. Going into the 12-team playoff with the 4 first-round byes, we're like, all right, it's guaranteed to be the 4 conference champions from the Power 4. Boise State, it's crazy what they did this year, and credit to them, man. They were getting a first-round bye in the college football playoff. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.